All right, so the first order of business when discussing, having a great toss, a reliable toss, for me is the idea initially of having a great serve routine. Okay, you look at any top player, Federer, Isner, any great player, you're going to see them lock into something that they do over and over at the start of their service motion because they want some consistency there. They want something to calm them down, something that they're used to. It's always nice to have a consistent routine. Okay, so what I would say is before you really start to focus on, all right, how do I toss? How do I get this ball exactly where I want it? Pre-plan a really good routine. So let's step up here. I'm going to walk you through a couple that you might see some of the pros do. I'll do Isner first. I think you guys will all recognize this. When he gets up to the line, he actually doesn't step all the way up there. He takes the ball and goes through the legs once, maybe twice. Okay, and as I do that, it's like, me dribbling a basketball as a kid. I'm calm. It kind of feels comfortable, kind of fun to do. All right, so what's he not focused on? He's not focused on being nervous about what the returner's going to do. He's not nervous about, locating a toss. He's getting comfortable. He's getting rhythm. You talk to any of the great servers in history, they're rhythm servers, and that starts with this routine. You've seen Federer before. He'll bounce the ball out there once or twice. Sometimes you see him clip it with the frame of the racket. Once again, if he's able to do that, there's just something about it's just him. It's nothing going on with the returner, nothing about, how big the stage is. It's just something he has for himself that allows him to settle down at the start of the motion. Okay, we've done some work with Jan-Michael Gamble. Great server. He has a very consistent routine. It's always 4 ball bounces. So he was always 1, 2, 3, 4, never more, never less. And so what I like about all these different routines is you can make it your own. Nobody has to have the same exact routine. But again, this is the only shot in tennis that we control everything about. And that begins with this routine. So then once you see those couple ball bounces, you see the ball through the leg, there's a relaxation about it, a calmness about it. And now as we start to get into the actual service motion, to me it gives you the best chance for success in terms of reliable toss, consistent contact point, nice result of the stroke. It all starts here with what you do. So however you choose to go about your routine, certain amount of ball bounces, my advice would be to lock it in and not ever stray from it. Always have it be the same. That is the beauty of a routine. It's something we do over and over, and it's super helpful in terms of getting that end result out there. All right, so we got to dive into 5 key toss ideas so that we can have a consistent toss going forward. Okay, so these are extremely crucial. The first would just be how to hold the ball. All right, and one issue I see a lot of times is people kind of swallowing up the tennis ball in the tossing hand. The fingers close over the ball, they're like really gripping it. And the problem with that is the ball, if it's covered up by the fingers, tends to sit kind of on the pad of the hand, if not in the palm. The reason this is such a big problem is when we open up the fingers to let the ball go, it really tends to start rolling. Okay, and that one right there, I actually knew it was going to roll. I tried to keep it directly above my hand. It's really hard. It comes out, and when it rolls that much, it can take off. Okay, so obviously when I need to get that toss to a really specific, point up in the air where I can meet it, I don't want it swaying out of there. So the way I like to hold the ball, I really highly suggest this, is grab the ball, more in the fingertips. Obviously, I'm not way up at the top. I don't want the feeling that that ball could kind of slip out of my hand. So it's not way up at the top there, but I definitely have space between the tennis ball and the palm of my hand. You guys can see that, and I know my hands are a little bigger than most, but everybody's got the capability to keep the ball covered up by the thumb and basically the top 3 fingers. You could see the pinky finger sits a little more on the side just for support, but I love the look of that where the ball is kind of like the little bulb of a flower, because now as I release that ball, you can see how it does not oscillate so much. It just kind of releases up. It's going to have a little bit of rotation. You're never ever going to toss a ball where it just levitates basically, but the less amount of spin you have, obviously that's extremely key. So really start to grab the tennis ball higher up in your fingers so we lose that spin, okay? The next idea would be arm angle. So we're going to start to come up towards the baseline here, and arm angle is so important because, you know, a lot of players get out there and the elbow starts to bend. This is the really crucial mistake that players make, is as we go to toss, the elbow bends and we kind of break the arm entirely too much. And I think you can see if the tennis ball, as my elbow bends, starts to face me, where's the direction it's going? It's definitely starting to go back. And I don't want that ball into me. I don't want it over the top of me. So you cannot start tossing the ball with an arm angle that's closing. Obviously, I'm way past 90 degrees here. So some players you see, there's a little break. I think Nadal, you see Nadal, he gets a little bit of elbow bend when he starts to bring the arm up. I'm a huge fan of keeping my arm entirely straight. Okay, as you see me start to release the ball up, that left arm does not bend at all. For me personally, I feel like there's just great extension in that. Getting that ball nice and high is going to come from me keeping my arm more straight. And honestly, less can go wrong. You know, think about a serve. Okay, if I'm trying to blast a serve, aren't we seeing a lot of arm action, a lot of break of the elbow? Because the result, we're trying to have pace and pop and all that stuff. With a toss, what do I want? I want a ball to just sit up there nice and slowly. So the less I do, generally the better. So I would highly suggest starting to leave that tossing arm as close to straight as possible as you bring the arm up. Okay, third point here would be stance. Okay, and the angle that my body is in terms of directing the toss. Okay, so from directly in front of me all the way down to you guys by the camera, we all know that that's a 90-degree angle. Okay, so the traditional kind of body angle and release angle for me tends to be 45 degrees. So a lot of you out there have probably heard to line up your toss towards the net post on the right-hand side of the net. I like that idea a lot. I think a good consistent toss towards the post over there at about 45 degrees. You know, once again, that's going to put the ball into that 12:30, 1 o'clock range. If I've got a big clock directly above me, a lot of players can be successful with a toss that's in that 12:30 to 1 o'clock range. So if you find your body and the release angle in about that 45-degree position, that's where the ball's going to go. Now, a lot of players out there love a toss that's more at 12, so they're tossing more at that 0 angle. Some players, a la McEnroe, would have done it on the lefty side, but McEnroe tossed more in this 90-degree angle, more parallel to the baseline. So it's not wrong to be anywhere in this 90-degree window. Once you're outside of that, for these traditional serves, now we've got an issue. So I would highly suggest working off that 45-degree angle, and if a little tweak makes sense to you, absolutely roll with that, but stay somewhere in here around that 45-degree line, okay? Fourth point we got to touch on is just the action of the arm, okay? We said we're trying to keep the arm straight, but we also want a consistency and a fluidness to this action, okay? So me personally, in order to get that consistent loose feel in the toss, I drop that left arm almost into my lap. I'm definitely near my left leg. I think I come a little bit past. Let's have a look. Yeah, I get into about there. So I'm behind my left shoe, okay? Some players, Roddick, a little more abbreviated, he would go from about here. So his tossing arm doesn't come back into this area. The more traditional style, the Federers of the world, definitely are bringing that hand down before releasing it back out. The point here is that we want something that feels like really, really comfortable. So to me, the one mistake we can't make is starting our serve toss in the upward motion from a suspended position here in the air. This to me, I'm stiff in the shoulder, my arm's a little tight, I'm going to struggle to get height out of my toss if my arm is suspended up like this. So some level of drop, it doesn't have to be all the way down where I drop it to, but some level of drop with that left arm before releasing back up, again, takes tension out of it. If you ever have had nerves when you're serving, you're really tight and you don't want to miss, if that starts to kind of funnel into your tossing motion and you can barely even get the toss up because the arm is stiff the entire time, things really can go downhill in a hurry. So relax that left arm as you keep it more straight, let it drop some, try it to where I get to. I think you guys will find that coming back from this kind of lap position is a really healthy way to keep the arm loose and tension free, okay? And now when do we let the ball leave our hand? We've gone through all these points, we still have the ball in our hand. So this, I think, is the one point out of the 5 that I made that there is no wiggle room. The other 4 points we just talked about, you know, the fingertips, somebody might be a little deeper in the fingers than I am. Like we said, with the body angle and the release angle, we've got some flexibility there. When it comes to releasing the ball, there is no wiggle room. The ball has to leave your hand just above your eyes. Okay, so however tall you are, kind of be very aware of eye level, and the ball has to come out just above eye level. And what you're going to see is me release a couple early, which means lower than eye level, and later, which means I held on to the ball too long and my hand got significantly above eye level, and the results will be, funny enough, eye-opening, okay? So here we go. Here's me letting it go too early. All right, good height on the arm, straight, nice release angle. I'd have to be like 18 feet tall to reach out there, okay? So that ball goes too far into the court. If there's any play on it, it's a foot fault. It's just, I think as you can see, it's not focused up, it's focused out when you let the ball go before it reaches just above eye level. Now, the player that wants to hold on too long, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The arm is now starting to get away from just going up, it's starting to come back. So now that ball's getting behind me too much, okay? So it's really, really important that you know the ball has to leave your hand just above eye level. And there we go. That ball stays slightly in front of me, but it's more focused upward. It's a ball that stays right in my wheelhouse, that I can control that point of contact over and over and over if I'm consistent with that release point just above my eyes, okay? So obviously that's a lot on the toss, right? We haven't even seen a serve, but this is the most important part of the service motion, because if the ball's consistently in the right spot all the time, it doesn't take a great server to get great results. But once that ball is all over the place, the angle of the ball coming out is changing, the ball's spinning out of our hand, now it's ever changing. I can't get a consistent hit on the ball. So the toss absolutely is the most important part of the service motion, and the serve is the most important shot in tennis. So this is about practice. This is about going out. It's probably, yeah, right, the most boring practice we can have, because we're not even hitting. But I think you'll find when you have a very reliable service toss, hitting great serves is just about the most fun you can have in tennis. So can't stress enough, practice those 5 points. They don't have to all be at the same time, but those 5 elements to the serve toss, really, really vital. Okay, so what are some ideas that we can have as far as having a more reliable toss? To me, it's just practice. Okay, so I've got 2 drills that I really like for practicing a consistent serve toss. It makes it kind of fun so that when you're going into your match play, you know, the toss should be an afterthought. It should be something that's so just rhythmic and more about muscle memory instead of mental focus. Because the idea for me, and I hope it's the same idea for you out there, is that when I get up to that line and it's time to serve, I'm focused on the weak backhand that this guy has. I'm focused on me pounding, you know, 120 mile per hour serve down the tee. I want it to be all positive feelings about what I'm going to go do with my serve, not about the onset here of just how to get this tennis ball out of my hand. Okay, so let's look at the couple drills that I have. And, you know, once again, I'll say this, tossing the ball, while it is so important, I'll put this on this side, it's so important, but it's not fun practice, okay? So don't feel like you got to go out and practice this stuff for 20 minutes at a time. If you can go out and over the course of a week, take 4 or 5 minutes a couple times per week, once again, this is about gaining muscle memory. So over time, and hopefully it's a short amount of time, tossing the ball now becomes, you know, something that's so easy and so standard for you that it doesn't require practice down the road. I will say this, there have been some pros on tour who have had the yips, okay? And, you know, they can't get the ball out of their hand. Dementieva, I think, was one of them. I guarantee you that Dementieva, when she was really struggling with her toss, was stepping up to the line worried about her toss. Okay, and that's no great server in history ever steps up to the line and goes, oh my God, I got to get my toss out of my hand. They're thinking about what they're going to do with their serve. Okay, so the first would be the simple kind of toss the ball and try to land it on the strings idea. So I get into my service stance. I put the racket down. I like my left toe kind of pointed into the middle of my grip. I think some players I see do this. They stand behind their racket and their toe is pointing towards the butt cap. The problem with this, the racket tends to sit a little more into that 12 o'clock spot. So unless that's the pocket that you're trying to toss into, I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest putting your left toe more into the middle of your grip so that the landing zone for your toss is more in that 12:30 to 1 o'clock kind of traditional area. Okay, so you might need 2 rackets for this. I don't have mine with me, but just for balance purposes, holding another racket here feels good. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do is go through my service motion and release my toss and hopefully have it land out here on the strings, because in that position, when I'm serving, that's a great landing zone. If it's back behind the grip, way out over here, back over here, obviously getting away from the strings is putting me in tough positions when it comes time to actually hit the ball. All right, so let's go through a toss here and see where my ball lands. Okay, I like that a lot. I'm actually just to the left of the throat of my racket, so I'm still in front of the baseline, not a big mistake. And again, I'm slightly left. I'd actually rather be slightly left of that than on the opposite side, because I never want that feeling that the arm's getting too far out away from me. Okay, but with that being said, I really want to land this on the string. So let's try one more here. Oh, baby. Oh, and then it pops right up to you. So that's pretty cool. So again, it's about that general area. Don't worry if you're out here practicing with that down there and you're not hitting it every time. I obviously missed it the first time. I still would have for sure swung at that serve because it's so close, it's still a good spot. Now, what's a little more fun is if you have one of these hoppers. Put it kind of in the same exact spot. Obviously, there's nothing to line my feet up to. But then you can get into this position where you're actually trying to land it into the hopper. For me, it's just a little more like a carnival game, I guess, which I always have fun with. But here I am going for the same action. Oh, so close. Let's do it one more time. Boom, baby. All right, so that's obviously makes me feel a little bit happier than hitting it on the strings, but technically the same idea. Two really good little tossing drills. Like I said, 3 to 4 minutes. Doesn't have to be a ton. If you're in that general area, one thing you can tack onto this is a little bit of a scatter pattern idea. I might have a couple balls with me, and just to kind of ensure that I'm around the same area, I'll toss a few up, and wherever I see them land, I'll put a tennis ball down in that spot, and we'll see if I can keep a couple pretty close together here. Okay, so that was right on the baseline, right there. Again, not a bad serve toss. I'd probably want to see it on the next one a little more out in front, so I have a little adjustment to make. Okay, so that landed right there. And if you think about where that basket was or where the racket was, you know, I'm really close in there. And another one that was right there, okay? So I'm out to the side of my body, I'm in front, I'm in a pretty good spot there. If you go out and practice this drill and you have tennis balls really far apart from one another, obviously that's a situation where you want to see that scatter pattern get a little closer together as you practice, you know, over the course of a week or two. And if they're kind of clustered after a few weeks of practice, you're obviously doing a great job with that drill. Okay, so it's not about, you know, mental triggers when it comes to tossing consistently. It's about practicing good habits, making sure you have a consistent toss so that the focus when you're actually serving is not getting the ball up out of your hand, but actually hitting the ball. Okay, so if we want to hit a kick serve and we can't quite seem to get the ball to that kick serve toss position, how do we go about this? So what I want to illustrate first is just that standard toss for a flat serve or a slice serve. And I want you to pay really close attention to kind of the direction of my left arm. This is really key. All right, so when I'm focused on that 12:30 time slot for flat or slice, you know, my body, as we discussed, is set up pretty much in a 45-degree angle. So my left arm, so long as it stays in line with that 45-degree angle, is going to put that standard toss in the same spot every time, okay? So here's that nice 45-degree angle spot. Now, we obviously know that we want that ball a little closer to probably 11:30. Even 12 o'clock's okay. Let's make sure we're clear on this. You watch a Federer, some great server, John Isner, they're putting the ball out there at about 11:30. You can still have a decent kick serve with some action on it, tossing the ball to 12 o'clock. Okay, so it just needs to get slightly left. Now, I think the reason that there's a struggle sometimes to get that ball over there is we're not making an adjustment with what the left arm is doing as it comes up to toss the ball. Some players try to change the release, almost the direction of the hand, to kind of flip it there, and we lose control of that tennis ball. So everything remains the same in terms of releasing the ball just above eye level. You know, I'm still keeping my arm very nice and straight. It's just we want to start to think of the up movement in a little more of a circular fashion. So as we just saw, that standard position, the left arm is moving, you know, straight down, straight up in that 45-degree spot. When I come down to release for a kick serve and go back up, the left arm has this move, where I'm starting to come up and release the shoulder, the arm, the left hand out this way a little bit. Okay, and you can see the position that the ball is in my fingertips is still the same. By bringing that arm in more of a circular fashion, now we're starting to see the ball get back here where we know it's supposed to get to. Okay, so yeah, we got to be able to go out and practice that idea. So once again, I could put my racket down just on the back side of my left heel. Okay, and again, that's pretty much that 1130 spot. So if you go out and practice this kick serve toss and it's landing just to the right of the racket head, we're still in good shape here. All we're trying to avoid is obviously keeping it to the right side of our body. So in this position, getting that little more circular fashion, okay, there's that ball. By the way, notice, the strings are still inside the court. It is such a common misconception that on a kick serve toss, the ball, as it gets left, is supposed to be behind the baseline. That's absolutely incorrect. You're going to put yourself in a very bad spot for hitting the ball if your toss is landing behind the baseline. So notice those strings are still out in front of me. I put up an okay one there. Let's see if I can get it on the strings. Boom, there it is right there, okay? Once again, you could do that with the scatter pattern idea, something where you're landing around that general area. You could use the tennis ball basket as we saw, but it's really that idea of circling out the left arm once it comes down to be able to bring it over, not starting to try to flip the ball over there, not turning the hand out. Obviously, some people just know it's supposed to be there and can't break out of the mold, and so they think they're hitting kick serves from a 1230 position. So very simply put, we got to go out and practice that action with the left arm into the general area that we want to see the ball land. And once that toss is consistent there, now we're able to really focus on how to hit it to get that end result where that ball's jumping with topspin.